You know what happens when a girl from rural Jamaica gets pregnant before marriage? They don't ask who hurt her. They don't ask if she's okay. They ask, who will talk? Deina Campbell learned that the hard way when her grandmother shoved her into the rain, pregnant, penniless, and 17. But here's the twist. The baby's father wasn't some broke local boy. He was Kang Min-jae, Korean mafia boss, ghost king of the underworld, and he had no idea she existed. Until the night she collapsed at his gates. Real quick before we dive in, this story is heavy. It deals with abandonment, survival, and power. If you've ever felt rejected, invisible, or counted out, this one's for you. Comment below with a fire emoji if you're ready for this ride. Subscribe if you love stories where the underdog gets the last word. And buckle up, because Deina's about to make them all pay. This is the story of a girl who was thrown away like trash, and the man who turned her rejection into power. Let's go back to the beginning. To the night everything changed. Chapter 1. The heat was suffocating in the market that afternoon. Deina Campbell wiped sweat from her forehead as she stacked boxes of yam and plantain onto the wooden cart. Her grandmother, Miss Iona, sat beneath the canopy, fanning herself with a cardboard square, her eyes sharp and cold. "Stop moving so slow, girl. You want the sun to spoil the produce?" Deina bit her lip and kept working. But then the world tilted. Her vision blurred. Her knees buckled. She collapsed onto the dirt road, clutching her stomach. "Lord Jesus!" someone shouted. A crowd gathered. Her grandmother's face appeared above her, twisted with fury, not concern. "Get up! Now! I can't!" Deina whispered. Miss Iona grabbed her wrist and yanked her upright. Davina's shirt clung to her body, damp with sweat, and that's when everyone saw it. The curve, the unmistakable swell beneath the fabric. The crowd went silent. Then the whispers exploded. "Is she... Oh God! That girl is carrying. And no ring on her finger." Miss Iona's grip tightened until Deina winced. Inside, now. The house was small, tin-roofed, and crammed with relatives who lived off Miss Iona's charity. Deina sat on a wooden stool in the center of the room, surrounded by faces twisted with disgust, curiosity, and greed. Her grandmother stood like a judge, arms crossed. "Speak." Deina's throat was dry. "Grandma, please. Who is the father?" Silence. "Answer me, girl." I don't know his full name." The room erupted. Her Uncle Edwin laughed bitterly. "Don't know his name? You mean you don't know which man it was?" Her Aunt Joyce clapped her hands together mockingly. "Pregnant before marriage, and can't even name the father. Shame on this bloodline." Davina's younger brother Malik sat in the corner, eyes down, saying nothing. Miss Iona's voice cut through the noise like a machete. "You slept with some man for free? Gave away your body like it was nothing, and now you bring a bastard child into my house?" "No, Grandma, it wasn't like that." "Then tell me what it was like." Davina's voice broke. "I met him in Seoul. He was kind. I thought he cared." Her Aunt Joyce snorted. "Seoul? You went overseas and came back with your belly full. That man saw you coming from a mile away." Edwin leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "If he was so kind, why didn't he come back for you?" Deina had no answer. Because she didn't know. Min-jae had vanished the morning after they'd spent the night together. No explanation, no goodbye. She had believed he was ashamed of her. A poor Jamaican girl who cleaned hotel rooms. Not worth remembering. Miss Iona stepped closer, her voice dropping to something more dangerous than anger. "Get rid of it." Davina's head snapped up. "What?" "You heard me. Go to the clinic tomorrow. End this." "No?" The word hung in the air like a gunshot. "What did you just say to me?" Deina stood, trembling but firm. "I won't kill my baby." Her grandmother's face twisted into something inhuman. "Then you are no longer welcome under this roof." Davina's Aunt Joyce crossed her arms. "And what about the money?" Miss Iona's eyes sharpened. "What money?" "Malik needs a new phone for school. We were going to use Davina's savings." Davina's heart stopped. "No, that money is for... For what?" Edwin interrupted. "You think you'll need it? You're about to be thrown out." Malik finally looked up, guilty but silent. Miss Iona nodded slowly. "Joyce, get the money." "No." Deina lunged forward, but Edwin grabbed her arm. Her aunt returned moments later holding a small tin box. Inside was $600, every dollar Deina had saved from working 2 jobs. Miss Iona poured it into Malik's hands. "Buy your phone, boy." Davina's voice cracked. "That was for my baby. For when he's born." "Your baby?" Miss Iona laughed coldly. That bastard has no claim to anything in this house. Edwin shoved Davina backward. You should have thought about that before you opened your legs. Davina fell to her knees, sobbing. It was 4:47 a.m. when Miss Iona woke her. Get out. Davina sat up, disoriented. Grandma. Before the sun rises, before the neighbors see, before anyone asks questions. Davina looked around the room, the only home she'd ever known. Her grandmother's face was stone. Take nothing. You are not family anymore. Davina stood slowly, her hands instinctively cradling her belly. Grandma, where will I go? Miss Iona turned her back. That is no longer my concern. Davina walked to the door. Behind her, Malik whispered, I'm sorry, Dee. She didn't look back. The rain started the moment she stepped outside, cold, relentless, soaking her to the bone within seconds. Barefoot, penniless, pregnant. Davina Campbell walked into the storm alone. She had nowhere to go. No phone, no money, no plan. But she wasn't always this broken. 6 months earlier in Seoul, she had met a man who listened more than he spoke. A man with eyes like storm clouds and scars he never explained. She thought he was just a lonely investor's assistant. She had no idea. No idea who he really was. No idea what he would become to her. Let's go back to the beginning. To the night that changed everything. Chapter 2. 6 months earlier. Seoul, South Korea. Davina Campbell had never seen so much glass and steel in her life. The hotel where she worked as part of a domestic aid exchange program stretched 43 floors into the sky. Her hands were raw from scrubbing toilets, her back ached from changing sheets, but she was grateful. Grateful to escape rural Jamaica, even temporarily. Grateful for the $400 a month that would help her family. Grateful to be invisible. Until the night she met him. It was 11:47 p.m. Davina pushed her cleaning cart down the executive floor, exhausted. Most guests were asleep. The hallway was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Then a door opened. A man stepped out, tall, lean, dressed in a black shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His face was sharp, beautiful in a dangerous way, but it was his eyes that stopped her. Storm gray. Haunted. He looked at her the way most guests didn't, like she was actually there. You're still working, he said in accented English. Davina nodded quickly. Yes, sir, I'll be quiet. I wasn't complaining. He leaned against the doorframe watching her. Not in the way men usually watched, not hungry or entitled, just curious. You're not Korean, he observed. Jamaican. She kept her eyes down, folding towels with practiced speed. Long way from home. Not long enough. The words slipped out before she could stop them. When she looked up, he was almost smiling. Almost. I understand that feeling. Something in his voice made her pause. He looked like money. Expensive clothes, expensive watch, but he sounded like exhaustion. Do you want fresh towels, sir? My name is Min. She hesitated. Davina. Davina, he repeated, testing the syllables. That's a strong name. No one had ever called her name strong before. I should finish my work. Do you drink tea? She blinked. What? Tea. I made too much, it'll go to waste. She should have said no, should have remembered her training, never fraternize with guests. But something in his face looked the way she felt, lonely. Just for a moment, she heard herself say. Inside his suite, everything was immaculate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering city. Min handed her a porcelain cup, their fingers brushed. Why did you leave Jamaica, he asked. To send money home. My grandmother, she raised me. I owe her. Family debt. His jaw tightened. I know that burden. They sat in silence, sipping tea. It should have been awkward. It wasn't. What do you do, Davina, for work? I solve problems. That's vague. It has to be. She noticed the scar on his forearm, long, deliberate, and another barely visible on his collarbone. Those look painful, she said quietly. Min glanced down as if he'd forgotten they were there. They're reminders. Of what? That survival has a price. Davina set down her cup. I should go. But she didn't move. Neither did he. You're afraid, he said. Not a question. Of what? Of wanting something for yourself. The truth hit her like a slap. Yes, she was afraid. Afraid of wanting more than survival. Afraid of being seen. Afraid of this man who looked at her like she mattered. I should go, she repeated. This time Min nodded, but as she stood he caught her wrist, gently. Davina. She turned. You're allowed to exist, not just serve. Tears burned her eyes. She pulled away and fled into the hallway. She didn't see him again for 3 days. But on her next shift, she found an envelope slipped under the door of the staff lounge. Inside was $200 and a note in precise handwriting. For something that's yours, not theirs, M. Davina pressed the money to her chest and cried. 2 weeks later, she ran into him in the hotel lobby at 2 a.m. He looked different, tense, bruised knuckles, a fresh cut above his eyebrow. Min? He turned, startled. For a moment something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Then it softened. Davina, what happened to your face? Work. What kind of work leaves you bleeding? The kind you don't ask about. She should have walked away. Instead, she took his hand. Come. She led him to the empty staff kitchen, made him sit, found the first aid kit. You don't have to. Be quiet. She cleaned the cut with steady hands, though her heart was pounding. Who hurt you? She whispered. People who wanted something I wouldn't give. And you fought them? I always fight. She pressed a bandage against his skin. He caught her wrist again. This time, he didn't let go. Why are you helping me? Because no one else will. His thumb traced the inside of her wrist. You don't know me. I know you're lonely, like me. Min stood, towering over her. His eyes searched her face. If I kiss you, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. Davina's breath caught. Then don't kiss me. He leaned in anyway. The kiss was not gentle. It was desperate. Hungry. The kind of kiss that comes from two people who've been invisible for too long. They ended up in his suite again, but this time, nothing was said. Davina let herself be touched like she mattered. Min held her like she was something precious he'd thought he'd lost. They didn't make love. They collided. Afterward, she lay against his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. I leave tomorrow, he said quietly. For business. How long? I don't know. She should have expected it, should have guarded her heart. Will you come back? Min kissed the top of her head. If I can. When Davina woke, he was gone. No note, no number, just the faint scent of his cologne on the pillow. She told herself it was better this way, told herself he was just another rich man who took what he wanted. But when her period didn't come 3 weeks later, she knew. And when the test showed 2 pink lines, she sat on the bathroom floor and whispered to the life growing inside her. He didn't mean to leave us. I know he didn't. She chose to believe that, because the alternative was unbearable. Meanwhile, Seoul, undisclosed location. Kang Min-jae stood in a warehouse, blood on his hands. His second-in-command June handed him a phone. The Park family has surrendered. You're in control now. Min-jae said nothing. You've been distracted, June observed. The Jamaican girl? She's none of your concern. She's a liability. Min-jae's voice dropped to something lethal. She's off limits. Understood? June bowed. Understood. But Min-jae knew the truth. He'd walked away because staying would have destroyed her. Men like him didn't get to keep things that were good. They only got to survive. Chapter 3. Kingston, Jamaica. 3 months later. Davina's belly was getting harder to hide. She'd returned from Seoul with $800 saved and a secret growing inside her. The moment she stepped off the plane, her grandmother had demanded the money. For the church offering, for your brother's school fees, for the roof repairs. Davina had handed it over. All of it. Because that's what good girls did. Now she stood in the back of a fish market, gutting snapper for $30 a day. The smell made her gag, but she couldn't afford to lose this job. You sick again? Her supervisor, Mr. Chen, barked. If you can't work, leave. I'm fine, Davina lied. She wasn't fine. Her body ached, her ankles swelled. The baby kicked constantly, as if angry at the world it hadn't yet entered. Davina worked until 9 p.m., then walked 3 miles home in the dark. When she arrived, the house was loud with laughter. Her brother Malik had bought a new phone. Her Aunt Joyce was cooking curry goat, expensive meat Davina never got to eat. Miss Iona sat at the head of the table like a queen. No one looked at Davina. She climbed the stairs to the tiny room she shared with her cousin, lay on the floor because the bed was too good for her now, and cried silently. 4 months pregnant. The pregnancy could no longer be hidden. Davina wore oversized shirts, hunched her shoulders, avoided mirrors. But bodies don't lie. At the market, women whispered, "That Campbell girl is carrying." Shame on Miss Iona's house. Probably some foreign man knocked her up and ran. Davina kept her head down, kept working, kept surviving. 6 months pregnant. She collapsed at the fish market. Not from exhaustion this time, from pain. Sharp, stabbing pain in her abdomen that made her scream. Mr. Chen called an ambulance, but only because it was bad for business to have a girl bleeding out on his floor. At the public hospital, a nurse barely looked at her. Name? Deina Campbell. Insurance? No. The nurse sighed. Wait over there. Deina waited 4 hours. By the time a doctor saw her, the bleeding had stopped. But the fear hadn't. You're malnourished, the doctor said flatly. The baby is underweight. If you don't eat properly, you'll both die. I'm eating what I can afford. Then afford more. He walked away. Deina sat in the waiting room until security told her to leave. 8 months pregnant. She lost her job at the fish market. Can't have a pregnant girl scaring customers, Mr. Chen said. She found work washing clothes by hand for a woman in the hills, $15 a day, no benefits, no mercy. Her hands bled from the lye soap, her back screamed with every bent-over scrub, but she didn't stop, because stopping meant dying, and she refused to let her baby die. 9 months pregnant, Deina went into labor alone. It was 3 a.m. Her water broke while she was sleeping on the floor. She didn't scream, didn't call for help, just grabbed the small bag she'd packed and walked 2 miles to the charity clinic. The midwife on duty was kind but overworked. First baby? Deina nodded, gripping the bed rail as a contraction tore through her. Father here? No. Family? No. The midwife's expression softened. Then I'll be your family tonight. Labor lasted 14 hours. Deina had never known pain like this. It wasn't just physical, it was the pain of being alone, of bringing life into a world that had already rejected her. Push, the midwife urged. Deina pushed, and pushed, and pushed, until she heard it. A thin, weak cry. It's a boy, the midwife said gently, but he's not breathing well. Panic surged. What's wrong? He's underdeveloped. We need to get him oxygen. They took him away before Deina could hold him. She lay on the blood-soaked bed, trembling. Please, she whispered to God, to the universe, to anyone listening. Please don't take him. He's all I have. 3 hours later, the midwife returned, carrying a tiny bundle wrapped in a thin blanket. He's stable, barely, but he's a fighter. Deina took her son into her arms and sobbed. He was so small, so fragile, but his eyes, storm gray, just like his father's. What will you name him? The midwife asked. Deina looked down at the baby who had survived against all odds. Elijah, she whispered, because God heard me. 2 days later, Deina was discharged with no money, no supplies, and a newborn who needed constant care. She walked out of the clinic into the rain. Again, always the rain. Elijah whimpered against her chest. I'm sorry, Deina whispered. I'm so sorry I can't give you more. But she kept walking, because that's what mothers do. Chapter 4. 3 weeks later. Deina had been wandering Kingston for days. She'd tried returning home. Miss Iona had locked her out. Tried shelters, all full. Tried churches. They offered prayers but no beds. Elijah cried constantly. He was hungry. So was she. She'd sold everything she owned, her phone, her shoes, even the thin gold bracelet her mother had left her. It bought 3 days of formula. Now she had nothing left. The rain started at dusk. Deina was walking through a wealthy neighborhood she didn't belong in, looking for somewhere, anywhere, to sleep. The houses here were fortresses. High walls, iron gates, guard dogs. She stumbled, dizzy from hunger. Elijah wailed, "Shh, baby, please, shh." But he wouldn't stop, and neither would the rain. Her legs gave out. She collapsed against a massive iron gate, clutching Elijah to her chest, sobbing, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I can't do this anymore. The gate belonged to an estate so large she couldn't see the house from the road. She didn't know who lived there. Didn't care. She just needed the rain to stop. Inside the estate, Kang Min-jae sat in his study, reviewing security reports. He'd been back in Jamaica for 2 weeks, overseeing offshore operations for the syndicate. A knock on the door. Come. His head of security, Chul, entered. Sir, there's a woman at the gate. Tell her to leave. She's collapsed, and she has an infant. Min-jae's jaw tightened. Call an ambulance. She's unconscious. If we wait, then bring her inside. Chul hesitated. Sir, protocol. Now. Min-jae watched through the security feed as his men approached the gate. He saw the woman first, drenched, skeletal, barely conscious, then the baby in her arms, and his world stopped because he recognized her. Open the gates, he said, his voice deadly calm. Chul stared. Sir? Open them, now. Min-jae stepped into the rain without an umbrella. His men parted as he approached, and then he saw her face, Deina, thinner, broken, barely alive, but unmistakably her. He knelt in the rain, not caring that his suit was ruined, not caring who was watching. Davina, her eyes fluttered open. Min, she whispered, confused. Am I dead? No, you're safe now. Her arms tightened around the baby. Don't take him, please. I won't. Promise me. I promise. She tried to say something else, but her eyes rolled back. Min-jae caught her before she hit the ground. The baby stirred and Min-jae looked down. Storm-gray eyes stared back at him. His eyes. Everything inside him went cold. Then hot. Then lethal. Get Dr. Yoon. Now, he ordered, and lock down the estate. No one in or out without my clearance. He carried Davina and the child inside. Behind him, Chul spoke quietly into his radio. Code Black, the boss has claimed someone. 30 minutes later, Dr. Yoon finished examining Davina. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, exhaustion. She's been surviving on will alone. And the child? Underweight, likely born premature. He needs monitoring. Min-jae stared at Davina's unconscious form. Will she live? If she rests and eats, yes. Then make sure she does both. Dr. Yoon hesitated. Sir, is the child yours? Min-jae's silence was answer enough. When Davina woke, it was dark. She shot upright, panicking. Elijah. He's here. She turned. Min-jae sat in a chair by the window, holding her son. Elijah was clean, wrapped in a soft blanket, sleeping peacefully. You? Davina's voice broke. You're real. I'm real. Tears streamed down her face. I thought I dreamed you. Min-jae stood and gently placed Elijah in her arms. Why didn't you tell me? He asked quietly. Tell you what? That you were pregnant. Davina looked down at Elijah. Because I didn't think you'd care. The words were a knife to his chest. You thought I'd abandon you. You did abandon me. I left to protect you. From what? He met her eyes. From me. Davina didn't understand. Not yet, but she would. Chapter 5. The next morning. Davina woke in a bed softer than clouds. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. Min-jae, the gates, Elijah. She sat up too quickly, dizzy. A woman in a crisp uniform appeared. Please rest, Miss Campbell. The young master's with the doctor. Young master, your son. Davina's heart clenched. Where is he? Being examined. Mr. Kang insisted on the best pediatrician. I need to see him, and you will, but first you must eat. The woman, her name tag read Nurse Han, wheeled in a cart laden with food, rice, soup, fresh fruit, more food than Davina had seen in months. I can't. This is too much, Mr. Kang's orders. Min-jae stood outside the nursery, watching through the glass. Dr. Yoon had set up a temporary medical suite for Elijah. IVs. Monitors, everything a fragile newborn needed. He's responding well, Dr. Yoon reported, but he'll need weeks of care. He'll have it. Sir, have you confirmed paternity? Min-jae's jaw tightened. I don't need a test to know he's mine. With respect, sir, the elders will demand proof. Then test him, but the result won't change anything. That afternoon, Min-jae entered Davina's room. She was sitting by the window, staring at the gardens below. How do you feel? Like I'm dreaming. He sat across from her. You're not. Who are you? She asked suddenly. Really? I told you, I solve problems. That's not an answer. He studied her. What do you think I am? I don't know, but men who live in places like this, who have security like this, they're not normal. No, they're not. She waited. He sighed. My name is Kang Min-jae. I run a syndicate that operates across 6 countries. We handle shipping, real estate, and other ventures. Other ventures? Things governments pretend don't exist. Davina's hands trembled. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman who doesn't ask permission. And Elijah? What does that make him? Mine. The word was absolute. I didn't come here to trap you, Davina said quietly. I didn't even know this was your house. I know. Then why are you helping me? Min-jae leaned forward. Because that night in Seoul you saw me as human. Not as a weapon. Not as a title. Just me. And now? Now I see what I should have seen then. You deserved better than my absence. Tears filled her eyes. I thought you forgot about me. I never forgot. I just convinced myself forgetting would keep you safe. And Elijah? He's my blood, which means he's protected by everything I've built. What if I don't want that? Davina whispered. What if I want him to grow up normal? Normal? Min-jae's laugh was bitter. Davina, you were thrown out by your family, left to die in the streets. Normal failed you. She had no answer. Because he was right. 2 days later, the DNA results came back. Min-jae opened the envelope in his office, Chul standing by. 99.9% probability of paternity. He set the paper down. Call the elders. Sir, They'll object. I don't care. The meeting was tense. 5 men sat around Min Jae's conference table, syndicate elders who'd served his father. A bastard? Elder Go spat. You want to claim a bastard as heir? He's not a bastard. He's my son. Born to a foreign woman with no status. Born to the woman I chose. Elder Kim leaned forward. And what of the boy's mother? Will she be your mistress, your wife? That's not your concern. It becomes our concern when her presence threatens stability. Min Jae stood slowly. Let me be clear. Elijah is my heir. Davina Campbell is under my protection. Anyone who threatens either of them will answer to me personally. The room went silent. Understood? Min Jae's voice was ice, reluctant nods. Good, this meeting is over. That night, Davina rocked Elijah in her arms, singing softly. Min Jae appeared in the doorway. He looks peaceful, Min Jae observed. He finally is. And you? Davina met his eyes. I don't know what I am. You're safe. For how long? Min Jae crossed the room and knelt beside her chair. For as long as I live, no one will touch you. Do you understand? Why? She whispered. Why do you care? Because you gave me something I thought I'd never have. What? A reason to be more than what I was made to be. Davina's breath caught. Min Jae reached out and touched Elijah's tiny hand. The baby's fingers curled around his. And for the first time in years, Kang Min Jae felt something other than rage. He felt responsibility, and he would burn the world to protect it. Chapter 6. 1 week later. Min Jae called a meeting, not with elders, with power. Every syndicate leader in the Caribbean was summoned to his estate. 30 men who controlled shipping routes, political connections, and violence. They arrived in armored cars, flanked by bodyguards. Davina watched from the upstairs window, terrified. What is he doing? She asked Nurse Han. Protecting you. The meeting took place in the grand hall. Min Jae stood at the head of the table, flanked by Chul and Jun. Gentlemen, I've called you here to make an announcement. The room waited. I have a son. His name is Elijah Kang. He is my acknowledged heir. Murmurs erupted. Where is the mother? Someone asked. Under my protection. Is she Korean? No. Then her heritage is irrelevant, Min Jae said coldly. What's relevant is this. Anyone who threatens her, insults her, or attempts to use her as leverage will be removed. Permanently. Elder Tanaka, a rival from Tokyo, leaned back. You're making a mistake, Kang. A foreign woman with no family ties is the mother of my child. That makes her untouchable. And if we disagree? Min Jae's smile was lethal. Then test me. No one spoke. Good. Spread the word. The threat started immediately. That night, a black envelope was delivered to the estate. Inside, a photo of Davina holding Elijah, taken from outside the gates. And a message. She's a liability. Remove her or we will. Min Jae burned the photo. Then he made a call. Find out who sent this. Chul worked fast. By dawn, they had a name. The Lee family. A rival syndicate based in Kingston, led by a man named Marcus Lee who'd been trying to expand into Min Jae's territory. Min Jae summoned him. They met in a neutral warehouse. Marcus arrived with 10 men. Min Jae arrived alone. You sent me a message, Min Jae said calmly. Marcus grinned. Just business advice. That woman makes you weak. Does she? You're distracted, vulnerable. Smart play would be to cut her loose. Min Jae stepped closer. Here's my smart play. You have 12 hours to leave Jamaica. Take your operations with you. If you're still here after that, I'll erase you. Marcus laughed. You can't be serious. Try me. Marcus didn't leave. So Min Jae made good on his promise. That night the Lee family's operations were dismantled. Shipments intercepted, accounts frozen, safe houses raided. And Marcus Lee? He disappeared. No body, no trial, just gone. The underworld got the message. Davina Campbell was not to be touched. Her son was not to be questioned. Kang Min Jae had drawn a line in blood. 2 weeks later, Davina was moved into the main estate permanently. She had her own wing, staff, security. Elijah had a nursery that looked like a palace, but Davina still felt like a prisoner. I can't leave, can I? She asked Min Jae one evening. He looked up from his paperwork. You're not a prisoner. Then let me go. Where? I don't know. Somewhere I'm not surrounded by guards. You're surrounded by guards because people want to hurt you. Because of you. Yes, his honesty was brutal. Because of me. Because I claimed you and Elijah. That makes you targets. I didn't ask for this. I know, but it's done. Davina stood. I'm not yours to claim. You're right, you're not. She blinked, surprised. Min Jae set down his pen. But Elijah is, and where he goes you go. That's not ownership. That's reality. Davina hated that he was right. That night, she stood on the balcony, watching the rain, always the rain. Elijah slept in her arms, peaceful. Minjae joined her silently. I won't cage you, he said quietly, but I won't let you die either. What if I want to make my own choices? Then make them. But know this, whatever you choose, Elijah will be protected, and so will you, whether you like it or not. Davina looked at him. You're infuriating. I'm aware. Despite herself, she almost smiled. Almost. Chapter 7. 3 weeks later. Davina was adjusting to her new life. She wasn't comfortable, but Elijah was thriving. He was gaining weight, smiling, healthy. That was enough. Until the night everything went wrong. It started with a sound. Davina woke at 2 a.m. to footsteps in the hallway. Too many footsteps. She grabbed Elijah and pressed herself against the wall. The door burst open. 3 men in masks stormed in. Grab the kid, Davina screamed. One man lunged for Elijah and collapsed. Blood sprayed. Minjae stood in the doorway, gun raised, face blank. He fired twice more. 2 bodies dropped. Chul, secure the wing. Yes, sir. Minjae crossed to Davina and took Elijah from her arms. Are you hurt? She couldn't speak, couldn't process what she'd just seen. Davina, are you hurt? No. Good. Stay here. Where are you going? To end this. Minjae gathered his men. Who sent them? Chul pulled up security footage. The Kim Syndicate. Seoul-based. Why? They think killing the child destabilizes you. Minjae's voice was ice. They're right. He turned to June. Assemble the team. We're going to Seoul. Sir, if you leave, Davina and Elijah stay here. Triple the guard. No one in or out. Understood. Minjae left that night. He didn't say goodbye to Davina. Didn't explain. Just vanished. In Seoul. Minjae walked into Kim family headquarters with 10 men. The building was a fortress. He didn't care. He kicked down the door and started shooting. Bodies dropped like rain. Minjae moved through the building like death itself. Silent, efficient, merciless. When he reached the top floor, Elder Kim sat behind his desk, surrounded by guards. Kang. We can negotiate. Minjae shot him between the eyes. Then turned to the guards. Tell everyone who sent you that this is what happens when you touch my family. The Kim Syndicate collapsed by dawn. Back in Jamaica. Davina hadn't slept. When Minjae returned 3 days later, she was furious. You left. I had to. You left us to protect you. By killing people? Minjae's jaw tightened. Yes. How many? Enough. Davina stepped closer. You're a monster. I know. Then why do you expect me to stay? Because monsters protect what they love. The word hung between them. Love. Davina's breath caught. You don't love me. No, Minjae agreed. But I love him, and you're his mother. So you're protected, whether you hate me or not. Tears filled her eyes. I don't hate you. You should. I know. That night, Davina watched the news, reports of gang violence in Seoul, multiple deaths, authorities investigating. She turned off the TV. Minjae sat in his study, drinking whiskey. Davina entered without knocking. Did they suffer? Who? The people you killed. No, I'm efficient. Good. He looked up, surprised. She sat across from him. I'm not naive, Minjae. I know what you are. But you kept us safe, so thank you. He said nothing, just nodded. And for the first time, Davina understood. Safety had a price, and Minjae paid it so she didn't have to. Chapter 8. 2 months later. Life had settled into routine. Elijah was 4 months old, healthy, happy. Davina had gained weight, color in her cheeks again, but she still felt trapped. One evening, Minjae called her to his office. Sit. She did. He slid an envelope across the desk. What's this? Your options. She opened it. Inside, bank statements, property deeds, legal documents. There's $2 million in an account under your name, Minjae explained. A villa in Barbados, a car. Everything you'd need to start over. Davina's hands trembled. Why? Because I won't cage you. What about Elijah? He stays with me. But you'll have full visitation. I'll never keep him from you. Tears streamed down her face. You're giving me a choice. Yes. Why? Because you deserve one. You've been controlled your whole life. By your grandmother, by poverty, by me. I won't add to that. Davina looked at the documents. Freedom. Real freedom. Everything she'd ever wanted, and yet... What if I stay? Minjae's expression didn't change. Then you stay. But not as a prisoner, as a partner. A partner in what? Raising him. Building a life that's ours, not mine. Ours. And if I change my mind? Then you leave. The money's yours either way. Davina set the envelope down. I need time. Take all you need. 1 week later, there was a knock at the gate. Miss Iona, Aunt Joyce, Malik, they'd heard about Davina's new life. Chul approached Minjae. The Campbell family is requesting entry. Deny it. They're claiming blood rights. They threw her out. They have no rights. Chul nodded, but Davina appeared. Let them in. Minjae turned. Davina, I need to see them, please. He studied her, then nodded. The Campbells were escorted to the garden. Davina stood with Elijah in her arms, Minjae beside her. Miss Iona's eyes widened. Davina, you look alive? Davina finished coldly. We came to apologize. No, you came because you heard I'm protected now. Because you want money. Aunt Joyce stepped forward. We're family. You stopped being family the night you threw me into the rain. Malik looked down, ashamed. I came to offer you nothing, Davina continued. Except this. Never contact me again. Miss Iona's face twisted. After everything I did for you. You mean after everything you took from me? Minjae stepped forward. You have 10 seconds to leave. Or what? Edwin sneered. Minjae didn't answer. He just looked at Chul. Chul and 4 guards advanced. The Campbells fled. That evening, Davina stood on the balcony, crying, not from sadness, from relief. Minjae joined her. I'm staying, she said. Are you sure? Yes, not because I have to, but because I want to. Why? She looked at him. Because you're the only person who ever let me choose. Minjae took her hand, and for the first time, Davina felt something she thought she'd never feel again. Hope. Chapter 9. 6 months later. Davina Campbell stood on the balcony of the estate watching rain streak the glass, but this time she was inside. Safe, warm, protected. Elijah toddled across the room, laughing as Minjae chased him. Catch me, Appa! Minjae scooped him up and Elijah shrieked with delight. Davina smiled. This was home. Not the mansion, not the luxury, but this, the sound of her son's laughter, the sight of a man who'd once been made of violence, now made of tenderness. Later that night, Minjae found Davina in the nursery. He's asleep? Finally. Minjae wrapped his arms around her from behind. Do you regret staying? No. Do you regret asking me to? Never. She turned in his arms. I love you. It was the first time she'd said it. Minjae's eyes softened. I know I don't deserve it. No, you don't. But I'll spend the rest of my life earning it. Davina kissed him, not desperately, not hungrily, but like a promise. 1 year later. Elijah's first birthday party was held in the garden. No elders, no syndicate, just family, the family they'd chosen. Nurse Han brought cake. Chul gave Elijah a stuffed tiger. Dr. Yoon took photos. And Davina? She watched it all with tears in her eyes. Because the girl who'd been thrown into the rain had become the woman who built shelter. Not from walls, but from choice. That night, Minjae and Davina stood on the balcony. Do you ever think about Seoul? He asked. Sometimes. Do you? Every day. Why? Because that's where I met you, and my life began. Davina leaned into him. What happens now? Now? Minjae smiled. Now we live. And they did. Not in the shadow of shame, not under the weight of survival, but in the light of something they'd both thought impossible. Freedom, love, home. And that's how a girl who was thrown into the rain became untouchable. If this story hit you deep, smash that subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers. Drop a comment. 1. Where are you watching from? 2. What part of Davina's story broke your heart? 3. Should I do a sequel about Elijah growing up in the Mafia world? And don't forget, click that next video on your screen, because the next story, it's even more intense. See you there, fam. Stay strong, stay protected, and remember, you're allowed to choose yourself.